Good morning, Ram Nation. We are back with another edition of DNVR Rams Live. As always, I'm Justin Michael. Back from Vegas. It's been a chaotic week, to put it lightly. I had to move, went to Vegas and back. A couple grand worth of car troubles. 10-hour commute that should have been a 5-hour commute. Our family's been through it this week, but I'm excited. I'm excited to talk about an eventful Mountain West Media Days. We certainly made some headlines. Jay Norvell naming some names when it comes to P4 tampering. We're going to get into all of that. I'm going to talk about kind of just the irony of the whole process of college media and the way we beg for honesty and then, really just as a whole kind of kill guys when they are honest. And we saw that with Norvell, obviously. Some of the national reaction was a bit arrogant. It was ironic. I mean, it was just, the whole thing was just silly. We'll get into all that. I'm going to talk about the heart and soul of this team. A couple of guys that, very easily could have hopped in the portal. Obviously, guys had some serious offers. Other guys could have gone to the NFL. People have stayed loyal to CSU through some tough times over these last couple of years. And that's kind of an experience that we've lost in college sports today. Just, that experience of getting to watch a team grow together and come together and overcome adversity and, like the Disney movie type stuff that used to kind of be pretty synonymous with college football. We'll talk about that at the end as well. Tory Horton getting mocked to the Chiefs. So we'll get into that as well. Shout out to Circa. It was awesome. The Mountain West really does it great for media days. They go above and beyond to make it a good experience. They've had some cool media giveaway gifts these last couple of years, which is a nice little touch. I mean, I don't need a gift or anything, but it is cool. They hooked us up with a tumbler thing. It's awesome. Last year they gave out a hoodie, which I really appreciate. It's really just a convenient experience as a whole, though. It's not as flashy as some of the bigger leagues, but it's great access. It's an easy process. We get to talk to the stars of the team, get to talk to any of the coaches. I got some access with John Weber. So a ton of written content's going to come out of it, a ton of other stuff as well. If you missed it, CSU football picked 5th in the Mountain West. I actually voted for them to finish 3rd, which is the highest I've ever voted for them to finish. A lot of it has to do with a pretty favorable schedule and the fact that they returned some top-end talent. I'm kind of projecting them to build on the positives we saw last year and obviously kind of eliminate some of the negatives that hurt them in small games. Got to talk to Jack Howell and Tory Horton about that specifically. Jack was really honest, man. He was talking just about how the pressure kind of got to that team during some of those tight moments where they had an opportunity to win, whether it was Boulder, whether it was Hawaii. UNLV, there were a couple of times where the lights, they got a little bright for our team. And I mean, that's something the staff's talked about for a couple of years, just having to kind of get out some of these losing tendencies that have plagued CSU for a couple of years. And that's what happens when you lose for years on end. You start waiting for the other shoe to fall. It feels inevitable. And sometimes that can be kind of a situation where you can manifest your own bad luck. So it's just a situation where they kind of need a little bit of confidence. They kind of need some luck to go their way. And then obviously, like, it gives you even more confidence, and that kind of works together. Shout out to everybody in the Toyota chat. I really appreciate you. It certainly is a good day for Ram Nation. Shout out to my buddy Aaron Harris. Don't dodge the tough questions. How much money did you win? None. Yeah, we'll just say I needed a deep breath after I attempted some blackjack. It did not go my way. I'm going to get into what everybody wants to hear about, obviously, which is Jay Norvell's comments on Kansas State, on Texas A&M, on Ole Miss. He named some names. I posted on Twitter here. I think we can get to the video. If not, that's okay. Really, really honest, really transparent with his whole spiel. Like, I thought it was refreshing. So many times these coaches, they'll come on and they'll be like, people are coming after my guys. And when you ask who, they're like, oh, I'm not going to name it. I mean, he put it all out there. He talked about Kansas State having a $600,000 offer allegedly to quarterback Brayden Fowler-Nicolosi. I talked about other schools, Texas A&M, Ole Miss coming after CSU stars. And I appreciate it. It's got to happen if we're going to get rid of some of this. I'm going to talk about the reaction and why it was laughable. But here's that video of Jay Norvell kind of getting into it and really naming some names, which I appreciate. Maybe. That's okay. We're having some technical issues on that. That's right. I can just talk about what he said. It's really not a big deal. It's essentially, he laid out that he had been told that Kansas State put a $600,000 offer on the table. I originally posted that it was to Tory Horton. He was talking about both guys. The last 2 years at media days, he has been really honest. He talked about last year, Tory Horton getting offered $500,000. From what I've heard behind the scenes, other schools have been very interested in CSU stars. Everybody from Texas Tech, Texas A&M, a lot of the Texas schools in general, like Georgia, USC. I mean, they've all been calling, and it's just nice to hear a coach put it all on the line. Like, he's not afraid of the reaction that's going to come. As Aaron says in the Toyota chat, he's not afraid of the headlines, and he's not afraid to take some attention on himself to really just kind of say how he feels it. And so many coaches, they play fake nice, and it's ridiculous. We ask for honesty, and then when they are
kind of offers
that video of Jay Norvell,
and you can't, if you have enough evidence, you can prove it, but smoking gun. He said guy from Kansas State called him, offered him $600,000 because they lost their quarterback, and if he got in the portal. And I'm not accusing Kansas State of anything. I'm just telling you what the kid told me. And so if they don't want their name thrown in it, I think they should probably get a handle on their people. But there's a lot of that going on in college football, and that's just the way things are right now.
Jay keeping it real, which I appreciate. I saw a lot of really just dumb reactions to the whole situation. People bringing up that Kansas State already has a quarterback, so why would they make a big offer to, CSU's quarterback? Or, other people just saying like they wouldn't make that type of offer. Yeah, they would. Are you following college football? One of the biggest storylines in college football right now is, Jaden Rashada in that situation at Florida. They offer him $14 million to sign there. He goes and finds out, turns out, that offer was fool's gold. It wasn't legit. There's so much of that in college football. There's no true governance at this moment. Like, there's no oversight. It's pretty much the wild, wild west. And there's all kinds of coaches making BS offers, frankly, just to lure kids into the portal. What are you going to do about it? I mean, if this lawsuit wins, maybe that'll finally kind of change some things. But the notion that like these schools wouldn't make a big time offer to CSU stars is just dumb, because first of all, that's happening all over college sports. We see it every single week. And second of all, BFN and Tory Horton are really freaking good. Like, BFN's a baller. I understand he had 16 interceptions last year. He's been very honest about it. He's got to cut it down. If we're being fair about the situation, a good 4 to 5 of them were, on fourth down situations, like Hail Mary type plays where you're desperate, you have to make a play. If you don't get rid of it, I mean, you're going to turn it over anyways. I'm not going to kill a quarterback for those. Every interception is different. I remember there was a 50-50 ball in Utah State that Larson made just an incredible play on. Normally that's a touchdown to Horton. Not every interception is the same. The dude threw for 3,400 yards. That was after he got thrown into the fire. You guys got to remember, he didn't run with the ones in fall camp for the majority. He got some reps, which is why they felt comfortable, handing him the keys there. But it's not like he was the guy all summer or throughout spring. The plan was for Clay Millen, obviously. And then he gets thrust into a really tough situation against Washington State, immediately makes some plays. Sure, Washington State's defense, they probably let off the dogs a little bit at that point. The game was well in hand. But what he was able to do in that incredibly hostile environment in Boulder was something else. I mean, I remember just how poised he was after the game. And obviously, like, he was heartbroken. All of those guys were. You guys were. I mean, it was tough to stomach because CSU was the better team for the vast majority of that game. And BFN was a big part of that, as was Tory Horton, who, CU could not cover all night long. That's not like a shot at them. Very few teams in the country have had success in slowing Tory Horton down. Really, the only times they've been able to is when he's been injured. And I just expect such a big jump from this offense this year. And, as Aaron says in the Toyota chat, BFN will make a huge leap this year. If it's his first off season with the ones and extra attention from the coaches, like, he has a real opportunity here to take the Mountain West by storm. Tory Horton's a top 5 wide receiver in college football, statistically speaking. From a talent standpoint, like you see it with the EA sports ratings, these dudes are dogs. They're really, really good. And I get so annoyed with how all this works. Like they tee these guys up, they ask them the questions, they want the honesty, and then when Norvell is honest, people like kill him for it. It's a really dumb process. We're gonna keep talking about all of it. It's been a long week, guys. I at times have wanted to rip my hair out. I definitely need more sleep. I don't know if you can hear it in my voice, but just between moving and Vegas and everything else, it's been a lot. It's been one of those situations where I've needed to take a deep breath, where I've needed to put myself in the right mindset so I don't get too cranky. And then, cracking open an ice cold Coors Light, that never hurts at either when it comes to just having a good night. When those mountains turn blue, it's as cold as the Rockies. Coors Light is cold lagered, cold filtered, and cold packaged for a smoother finish. Make the most out of the times you choose to chill. Choose Coors Light. Get Coors Light delivered straight to your door with Instacart by going to CoorsLight.com/DNVR. Celebrate responsibly. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. I also want to shout out the official vehicle of DNVR. That, of course, is Toyota. Toyota also a proud partner of CSU Athletics. Trucks have always been a part of Toyota's DNA for generations. Toyota has built durable legends destined for greatness and perfect for Colorado. Whether you're conquering off-road trails or hauling the way of the world, there's a truck that's right for you. Maybe it's the all-new 2024 Tacoma or the iconic 2024 Land Cruiser. They offer 17 models with available all-wheel drive or four-wheel drive like the Epic 4Runner. They also offer more low and zero-emission vehicles combined than any other automaker to give customers numerous choices to reduce their carbon footprint. There's 16 hybrid vehicles to choose from, like the Tundra iForce Max hybrid trucks. Toyota SUVs take command on the road and on the trail, so you can explore the road less traveled without sacrificing smooth city rides. And SUVs like the RAV4 and Grand Highlander. Toyota is a proud partner of CSU Athletics and the official vehicle of DNVR. All right. There's going to be people that are upset about the allegations. I think it's a little bit silly if you don't think this kind of chaos is happening in college football. It's clear as day. It happens every single day. And as I've already got into before you probably tuned into this show, a lot of the offers that get put on the table, no, they're probably not actually going to get paid out. The whole point is there's really no rules to this thing. People offer whatever they want. Sometimes it's direct DM. Sometimes it's reaching out through high school coaches, through trainers. There's all kinds of shady shit that happens behind the scenes in college football right now. The big schools feel like they can do whatever they want. They put offers to players. They go after talent. And if you don't think that players like BFN, like Tory Horton, are highly coveted by some of these highly successful programs in the P4, you're not paying attention, man. Like, the problem CSU has been, one, a lack of depth. One, it's been they tend to shoot themselves in the foot. Like, Ram life is for real. Nobody has been the root of CSU's demise more than CSU, but it's not been for a lack of talent. They sent plenty of dudes to the NFL. You've seen it in the games like in Boulder last year where guys like Tory Horton, like Mo Camara, they shine. It cracks me up, the reaction to some of this. If you're a fan of Kansas State or whatever, one of these P4 schools, or CU, and you're tuned into the show and you're anti-Norvell, you're anti-CSU, it is what it is. That CU game is certainly going to be an absolute circus. There are a handful of national dudes there that are only wanting to ask questions about Dion, about CU, and then it cracks me up because Jay answers those questions about CU, about Dion, and then the reaction is, oh my gosh, CSU, they just can't stop talking about CU, when they're just answering the questions that are being put out to them. The same thing happens to the players. It happened with game day last year. If game day comes again, I'm sure it'll be very similar. Like, I get it. Dion is good for business. I get that these national guys, that's the only storyline they're interested in. But you also can't blame guys like Norvell, like Jack Howell, like Tory Horton for being completely sick of it and for not wanting to play fake nice. And honestly, again, we ask for honesty, we ask for transparency, but when they actually are honest, when they actually tell you how they really feel, they get grilled for it. What is anybody on this roster, anybody on this staff supposed to say about Deion Sanders, about the CU Buffs, that's not immediately going to get met with ridicule from the cult of Deion, or that's not going to get picked up nationally and turned into some clickbait bullshit? That's just the way that it works right now. And like, I know I'm getting worked up, so I'm going to try and dial it back, but I'm just sick of it. And I don't care what anybody that's outside the Mountain West says. Everybody that's a neutral party can see what a circus this is and just how ridiculous the whole process is. But I don't know what you expect from these players, from these coaches, when you ask them to answer honestly, and they do, and then you grill them. Like, I loved what Jack Howell had to say about CU. He's like, honestly, I'm supposed to come up here. I know I'm supposed to say nice things, but I don't like those guys. We don't like them. They don't like us. It is an in-state rivalry. The blood has always been bad. There was never good blood in this rivalry. I mean, look back to 99, look back to 2000, look at the history between these schools. It's always been intense. It always will be. It's why 70,000 people packed Denver year in and year out to be a part of this epic game. Like, it's just ridiculous. The whole process. I'm honestly looking forward to it being over for a couple of years, because I highly doubt that Deion's going to be in town the next time that the CSU and CU play anyways. Maybe he will. We'll see. I'll eat it if I'm wrong. But the fact that like this game is the first Rocky Mountain Showdown in Fort Collins since 1996, and I'm almost dreading it just because of how dumb the narratives are going to be, how much of a media circus it's going to be, how much of a clown show it's going to be with the commentary. I'm over all of it. Nothing would be sweeter, obviously, than to rain on their parade and to win that game and to finally shut them up and humble them. The history says CSU doesn't do it. That's just the reality. But they're also due. Like we saw last year in a rivalry game, all bets are off. I think the Vegas line being significantly closer than it was a year ago, despite the fact that everybody in the national media, everyone in Boulder is telling us how that team's going to be so much better. How the Rams don't have a chance. Vegas thinks it's going to be a tight game. Rivalries and the passion are why college football is superior to the curated product of the NFL puts out. I could not agree more with Aaron in the Toyota chat. By the way, if you want to be at that game, no guarantee there's going to be single tickets available. Season ticket renewals are like up over 92% or something like that. I have a direct quote from John Weber, so I don't want to misquote him, but the demand's going to be insane. And frankly, the secondary market for those tickets is going to be absurd. And I know that everybody in Boulder thinks it's going to be 10,000 Buffs fans or more. They're going to take it over as they tweet at me. You're going to be sorely mistaken when you see that the interest in CSU is as high as it's been. It's going to be crazy. Yes, there will be a couple of thousand Buffs fans there. I certainly believe that. I think a lot more of them are going to spend the money to make the trip to Nebraska. Like, you're going to buy season tickets for CSU just to get in, make a big donation to the athletic department just to get in. We'll see. I mean, if you're willing to do all that, it's going to benefit CSU in the long run. So I guess we'll take the win. But yeah, based on everything I've heard from inside the department, talking with John Weber, talking behind the scenes, not a guarantee there will be a single game release. If there is, it'll be a very limited amount. Season ticket renewals through the roof. They also offered a lot of 3-game mini plans. You can get one that features like Ag Day and probably, I don't know exactly what the combos are. It's going to be great. So I'm looking forward to the passion. I'm looking forward to the rivalry. I obviously love the Rocky Mountain Showdown. But man, the whole thing has just become a circus, and I'm just over a lot of elements of it. I feel for these players. I feel for these coaches, because I don't know what else they're supposed to do when it comes to, the Deion stuff, when it comes to the rivalry, and even with the P4 tampering stuff, to get back to what I was originally talking about before I kind of got off the rails there. Like, again, if you're a G5, you're supposed to just sit there and take it and be like, oh, shucks, it is what it is. Like, no, this sucks. This isn't good for anybody. And, I'm getting all this commentary from Kansas State writers and largely Kansas State fans. And I get it's Twitter, that's just how it works, to be expected. But there's always a bigger, badder bully out there. And so when you puff your chest out and when you try and mock CSU for trying to call out some of this ridiculous tampering, just remember it sucks when it happens to you, and it will always happen to you, just like it helps to everybody else. The whole thing is just, it's a circus. Harrison wants to know, what the hell did Dion do? Honestly, it's not Dion, it's the media, man. It's the people that come in and they ask the questions. It's a similar deal. I'm sure there's a lot of narratives where it's, they ask him a question, they tee him up, and then they run with it. And that's just the way the process works. It's less about him. It's more about just how chaotic and dumb the narratives have become in this whole process. James wants to know, do you have any plans to have a friendly wager with RK or Jake this year? We'll figure out something. I don't know how friendly the rivalry is at the moment. Like, those two are my guys. But we're passionate, and obviously RK is a lifelong Buff. I'm a lifelong Ram. Like, it's just one of those situations where we don't really interact that much during that week. I mean, I'm sure we'll do some cross collab content, and we're all good sports about this situation. Like, I'm sure we could do something, but like, there's probably not going to be a ton of overlap because I don't think the two sides really want to engage all that much. If we're being honest, there is that small group of fans that is just kind of like dead in the middle and is good with both sides. But when it comes to a rivalry, the passion is a big part of what makes it great. It's also a big part of what can make it a little bit silly, what can make the dialogue irrational. It's what can make everybody so fired up. It's just, it's blessing and a curse when it comes to the passion of college football. And it's because it's so much deeper than just football. It's your school, it's your town, it's your community, it's your people. Like, it feels like when outsiders are taking shots at your school, like at your program, it just cuts so much deeper than when somebody mocks, the Broncos or the Nuggets, because there's just a lot more wrapped up in it, and a lot more that goes into being a part of a college community, for better and for worse. Like, again, like, we all probably put a little too much into this, but it's what we love and it's what makes it great. That's why we're all here on a Saturday morning talking about P4 tampering in the middle of July. I love this stuff. It's just silly, and I just like to point out that some of it can be a bit dumb at times. All right. While I have been frustrated with tampering, I also understand that it's a part of the game. And honestly, like, CSU probably has tampered with some people, someone on the staff. It wouldn't shock me. I don't have any inside information. I don't know. Everyone is doing it in college football. And that's why I don't understand why, when Norvell puts it all out on the table, the reaction from some is like, well, that wouldn't happen. Of course it would happen. Again, there's no oversight. These are very talented players. If you're a P4 school trying to hop in the mentions, what exactly do you have to lose? It's just become unfortunate how a lot of the sport has been overrun by shady people and people that aren't necessarily looking out for the betterment of the game or even the players. There are situations where guys transfer up and it's the best move for them, and good for them. I'm glad they have those opportunities. There's also a lot of guys that get sold on pipe dreams. They get made false promises, that are promised these checks that are never going to come. And that's unfortunate for them. Like, it's why I commend guys like Brayden, Fowler-Nicolosi, like Tory Horton, for one, being loyal, but also having the vision that it's not necessarily the grass isn't necessarily always greener on the other side. Daryl Washington wants to know, do you think this is the year CSU upset Colorado? I mean, you're at home. It certainly always helps when you're at home. Obviously, when you look at the all-time results of this series, they're going to be underdogs, which that's typically how it goes. But this is going to be a team that has a lot to play for. It's, again, like the irony of some of the CU fans being like, oh, you messed around and you made it personal. It's always been personal. It was always personal for Henry Blackburn. a kid out of Boulder who didn't get recruited by CU. He'd love to beat him. It's always been personal for Jack Howell, whose dad's a CSU legend, who grew up, watching these intense rivalries, who's been, a Ram since the day he was born. It's always been intense. I would like to think that with 7 returning starters on each side of the ball, with a intriguing group of transfers that have come in at receiver, with a returning quarterback that's got a ton of talent, that the team is behind, and has a lot of talent at the skill positions as well, and an O-line that has great depth. Like, you would like to think you should be in this game. I certainly think it's going to be a lot like last year, where it's a competitive game back and forth. I think the CU offense is going to be awesome. Like, I do think there are some question marks about their offensive line. We'll see kind of what happens there. But there's some questions about CSU's defensive line after, all the talent that they lost in the front 7. There's holes on both sides of the team. There's also some really top end talent, and I think it's going to be a great game. I'm really excited for it. I think if CSU wins, it'll certainly be one of the more fun moments. But yeah, I certainly expect a great game. I also think that CU will be better. Like, I do. I think they're bringing in a lot of talent over there. I wonder if they have enough continuity. I wonder if they have enough depth. I think that those are fair questions to raise when you talk about the way they're building the program through the portal. But it's also clear that there's more top end talent on that roster than there was 2 years ago. That's without a question. But the benefit that CSU has, and Jay talked a lot about this in media days going into year 3 in the program, you have continuity within your staff. You have continuity on both sides of the ball. Sure, you lose some guys, Grady Kelly, TJ Crandall, they go portal in, they end up at P4 schools, but you hang on to the heart and soul of this team, the core of your roster. You've been able to build up the depth and kind of fill some of those gaps that were created throughout some of the turbulence that was, around the program for a couple of years. You had multiple coaching changes, a ton of roster turnover, some scandals. Like, there's all kinds of stuff that happens from the end of Bobo into Adazio, which was just a disaster. And then Norvell inherits a really tough situation that becomes even tougher in the beginning of the season when some guys that he gave a chance end up leaving. Like, no hard feelings. I'm glad that some of those guys have been able to go on and find success elsewhere. But it's been an uphill battle for this program, and you feel better going into year 3 based on the fact that you've been able to hang on some of these guys. The recruiting classes have been solid these last couple of years. They've done a good job of being able to really build the roster the way they envisioned when they came in. Harrison says, dang, okay, because he didn't get recruited by CU made it okay for him to hit Travis SMH. When did I say that? I didn't say that. I said it's always been an intense game. It was a hit that drew a flag, and it deserved a flag. Trying to draw it up into something bigger than it is stupid, and I'm not going to get into that bullshit again. But, don't misconstrue my words. Don't be so sensitive. That's the thing about all the CU supporters, is like, you love to puff your chest out. Oh, we're 1990s Miami. Then when anybody brings the smoke back, it's we're the victim. Everybody's so mean to us. Everybody judges us on a different scale. It's so hard being us. Get over it. Get over yourself. We're going to move on. I'm going to talk about some CSU stars and why it's awesome that they've been able to stick around. I want to shout out to Circa Sportsbook. You can download that app in Colorado. What's awesome about Circa is they strive to give -110s, or they strive to give you some of the best splits around. Well, where other places you might get more like -115, -120. You're going to get -110 at Circa. They're really transparent. They don't limit player winnings. They've got great customer service, and it's run by the same awesome people that run the Circa Sportsbook and Circa Resort and Casino in Vegas. Download the app at circasports.com. Circa Sports Bets can be made while physically located in the state of Colorado. Must be 21 or older. All rights reserved. Circa Sports Colorado encourages you to gamble responsibly. Gambling problem? Call or text 1-800-GAMBLER or visit problemgamblingcolorado.org. I also want to shout out Raising Cane's. I might go for some Raising Cane's today. Hit up that one on College. Make a pit stop at Raising Cane's for craveable hand-battered chicken fingers. They're always cooked to order, made just for you. Love those crispy crinkle-cut fries and the buttery Texas toast, and you can't ever forget about the cane sauce. I'm big. Sometimes substitute the coleslaw, get a couple of pieces of Texas toast. Make yourself a little bit of a sandwich there with the chicken and the sauce. It's awesome. For cooked order, hand-battered chicken fingers racing to Raising Cane's. Turbocharge your chicken fingers. Get them even faster by ordering online at RaisingCane's.com or through the mobile app. Raising Cane's Chicken Fingers, one love. All right. Yeah, like you lost a couple of guys on the roster. I've got so much respect for guys like BFN. I've got so much respect for Tory Horton. I miss the experience of getting to watch teams grow together and overcome things and basically go to battle for a couple of years and, hopefully come out better for it. It doesn't always happen. I think back to like the Fairchild era. Yeah, you have that moment in 2008 where a team of largely Lubbock's veterans like Kyle Bell and some of those guys, Gartrell Johnson, I think that was a Grant Stucker year at quarterback. They're able to overcome, you win the 2008 New Mexico Bowl, a fun game against Fresno State. That whole season was fun, but then you have just a couple of 3-8-9 seasons and you never get over it. Like in some ways you could say very similar things about a Bobo, like they right off the bat just lose a couple of brutal games to Minnesota and the Buffs in Denver where you lose in overtime by 3 in a game. You missed 3 field goals, I think, had a couple of them blocked. It was just felt like everything that could go wrong did. And then 2017 was kind of where the bad luck culminated with the Boise State collapse, what happened in Laramie, getting beaten down by Air Force, all of that. But there are other times where you struggle for a couple years. Maybe you even come up a little bit short of where you would have liked to have been last year. And you're able to really persevere. I don't know, like I sound so corny saying this, but like you come out better for it in the end. The Tim Miles era, Roddy and Stevens, it's kind of a struggle at the beginning and then look what happens at the end. The Jim McElwain era, man, like yeah, they beat the Buffs in their first game under McElwain in Denver, but then you just get killed for basically 2.5 straight months. I think they closed like 3-1 or 3-2 or something like that over the final 5. And then that translates into some success in 2013. But even that season was a roller coaster. You lose a couple of frustrating games early, but you close strong. Like the thing you lose in the portal era with guys just going around from team to team is that like growing together feeling. And I think with this roster is just they genuinely love together. So many of these guys could have gone elsewhere. Howell's had plenty of P4 interest over the years. Blackburn didn't have to use his 5th year. Horton's had every P4 school in the country coming after him for multiple seasons. BFN had legit cash offers to go and play elsewhere. Like these guys, they want to win for each other. They're really tight. I think what they went through this past year really bonded them in a way. And obviously you hope that they can kind of eliminate some of those self-inflicted wounds that really cost them. I'll get into that more this weekend. I'll play some of that audio from Jack Howell from Tory Horton. But these guys, they've played a lot of snaps together. I'm not saying the roster is perfect. I do certainly have question areas, but I think the top end talent is something that is really exciting. And I think there's something to be said about a group of players to stick together. It doesn't happen very often. So many guys, and there were some guys on the team last year, obviously, that chose to jump elsewhere. And Howell, again, in the theme of being honest, and some people will be like, oh, like, why would you say that? He was like, I wish all those guys well, but we don't want people that have 1 foot in, 1 foot out anyways. You want people that are fully invested. That's what this team is. They could have chased a check. They could have gone to the NFL. They could have gotten the portal. Instead, they stick together. They want to win. And Horton even said it when I was talking to him in the media scrum. I asked him, was obviously the main focus is trying to improve his NFL draft stock, but was there something about not wanting to leave on a sour note and to lose the way they lost that Hawaii game last year, where you're 1 play away from making a bowl and you had this dramatic comeback, and like it could have been such a transcendent moment for the program, and like the momentum that could have carried over that from a bowl, like it could have been so awesome, but it ended up being heartbreaking. And these guys didn't want to go out like that. They want to have success. They want to get this team back to a bowl. They want to contend for a championship. And the non-conference schedule, it's going to be tough, especially those first couple of weeks. Rivalry games are always hard, and this one's going to be the most chaotic rivalry game we've ever had. It's going to be an absolute circus. Going to Texas is really brutal in August. They're going to be a playoff contender. It's going to be hot as hell. Like that's a really tough schedule. But the way that the schedule ends is also now seemingly, at least on paper, very favorable for the Rams. They've got this awesome stretch where it's like 6 first-year coaches in 7 weeks. They play 7 total. You've got 7 home games. Everything on paper says that CSU has a nice opportunity to make a leap. And even talking to some other guys around the league, some other guys from different beats, they all feel the same way, that the Rams, like, they have the talent. They've seen it. They've obviously come up short repeatedly, but especially with the way the schedule plays out this year, I think there is at least reason to believe the Rams are a sleeper. Like, I'm not going to get carried away. They haven't won a conference title since 2002. I haven't even been to the conference title game since 2002, I don't believe. So history says, like, they don't do that. But I certainly believe that there's reason for optimism. I appreciate the way that this team carried themselves. I appreciate that they're being honest, whether it upsets people on the outside or not. I truly don't care. I'm going to rock with this team forever. I have so much respect for this group of guys that have been through hell together and have a ton of talent. I sure would love to see them have some success in the end. I just, we'll see. We'll see what happens. It's all on paper. It's all there. You've got the talent, the schedule. The kickoff times are perfect too, as Taylor says in the Toyota chat. I'm with you. But it's on them, and they've got to go out and kind of take it. We'll see. We'll see. Before we get out of here, PFF recently mocked Tory Horton to the Chiefs in the 2025 draft. Tory with Mahomes would be electric. As a Broncos fan, it would make me sick to my stomach, but I just want what's best for these guys. I want them to land in the best possible position. Feels like there would be some great opportunity for Tory. I mean, obviously, Kelsey's getting hurt. They've got some speed guys. I mean, Tory's a burner. He had the fastest recorded on-field speed all of last year. But I mean, you look at, like, they bring in Xavier Worthy from Texas. They get Marquise Brown. Like, Rashee Rice had some success last year, but Tory's better than Rashee Rice right now. I mean, Kadarius Toney, like, there's definitely a position for Tory within that offense for him to get a large share of targets, to be a guy that they can consistently hit between the sticks, but also, he does have that top end speed, so he is a vertical threat. Again, it would just kill me as a Broncos fan, but I just want them to land in great spots, and Tory Horton with the Chiefs would definitely be electric. We'll see what happens. I'm just thankful that those guys have stuck around. It would have been really easy for Tory to chase the check, especially after this last year. Like, sticking around after 2022 is one thing, but to use your COVID year and to use it at CSU, that speaks volumes. It speaks volumes that he did it and Mo Kamara did it last year. I hope it really works out for him. And BFN, man, I've got all the faith in this kid. He said all the right things. I know he works his ass off. I think that this team really buys into him, and I think he just has a confidence, a swagger to him that you need to be a successful quarterback. And yeah, there's some things he's got to rein in. He threw too many interceptions. Like, I understand it. It wasn't perfect. He had some really incredible moments, like Boise State. I thought he was super clutch against Middle Tennessee. He was awesome against CU. He had some moments where it was rough. I mean, he struggled mightily in Laramie. That wasn't his star moment. But when they really needed to go and, like, make a drive, when they desperately needed to, time and time again, he went out and he made plays for this team, and they bought into it. They bought into it. You can see the arm talent. He's got all kinds of talent around him at receiver. I think there's a real chance that he takes this conference by storm this year. He was my vote for preseason all conference at quarterback. I think you could go with Mikey Keene, who got selected. It makes all the sense in the world. Brayden Schrager's a stud. Like, nothing against those guys. They're both going to be in positions, but I think for a couple of reasons. One, I just think BFN has arm talent that I'm not sure anybody else in the league has quite like him. I think he also is just one of those guys that when the lights are brightest, man, that's what brings the most out of him. He's got fire. I'll never forget just being how impressed I was with the way he conducted himself that entire game in Boulder last year, just being thrown into the fire, and obviously just doing what he did that whole season was huge. Like I cannot say enough good things about what BFN did. I think he's got a great future. I'm really excited what he can do with this offense. Yes, got to clean some things up, but more than anything, I think he's just going to make a massive leap from having continuity, from getting to play within a system that, you know, allows you to put up big stats. But I think an improved running game is going to be big. I think a deeper O-line is going to be big. The O-line is solid. I'm really excited to see what this offense can do. That's all I've got for you guys this morning. I appreciate everybody in the Toyota chat. It's been an active one. It's been crazy. Again, like kind of going back to what I said at the beginning, for some people that maybe weren't here at the beginning, I understand that the when a coach says something like, this school is offering, you know, $500,000, $600,000 to my guys, that it's going to get met with some skepticism, and it should, because a lot of the offers are BS. I'm not saying they would necessarily get paid that, but because it's the wild, wild west, because there's no governance, like there's no reason that these coaches have anything to fear. Like, what are you going to do about it? Like they're basically able to do whatever they want. It's very predatory. It's unfortunate because it's not better for the game in a lot of situations. It's not better for the players. Some situations it is, but it's just what college football is in 2024, I suppose. Much love, y'all. I'm always proud to be. Hope you guys enjoy your weekend. I'll have more content throughout. Keep your eyes on the site. We're gonna have a ton of written content. I'll have more takeaways from Mountain West Media Days as well. We'll play some audio from Jack Howell, from Tory Horton. Got an hour with Jay Norvell. We got about 20 minutes with John Weber as well. So all kinds of stuff to talk about. Really looking forward to it. Fall camp less than a month away. Cannot wait. Always proud to be y'all. Peace.
We all silly like the mayor.